Hallo und herzlich willkommen. Hey everyone, and welcome to your very first German lesson. Today we are going to build your first full conversation from hello all the way to goodbye. And trust me, by the end of this, you'll be introducing yourself with a ton of confidence. You ready? Let's dive in.
So just imagine this for a second. You're walking around Berlin, you meet someone new, what's the very first thing you say? That's the exact scenario we're getting you ready for today. We're going to cover everything you need to make a really great first impression, step by step.
Okay, first things first. Every single conversation starts with a greeting, die Begrüßung, and of course it ends with a farewell, der Abschied. So let's break down the most essential phrases you're going to need. Now, saying hello and goodbye might seem pretty simple, right? But in German, there's actually some really interesting cultural context packed into these little phrases. Let's start with the greetings. You've got some great options here. Hallo is your universal, can't go wrong hello. But you can also greet people based on the time of day. Guten Morgen for the morning, Guten Tag for the afternoon, and Guten Abend for the evening. And here's a little pro tip if you want to sound like a local. Down in the south, like in Bavaria, you'll hear Grüß Gott a lot. But way up north near Hamburg, it's a cheerful Moin Moin any time of day.
So when it's time to leave, Auf Wiedersehen is your formal, polite option. It literally means until we see again. Now, for a more casual situation with friends, you'd just say Tschüss. And you're going to love this detail. On the phone, you don't say Auf Wiedersehen because, you can't see the person. Instead, you say Auf Wiederhören, until we hear again. How cool is that? Brilliant, right?
Okay, so you've said hello. The next logical step, of course, is to ask for someone's name. Let's take a look at how that's done. You've got a few ways to do this, and it all depends on who you're talking to. The most common question is, Wie heißen Sie? That's the formal version. If you're talking to a friend or maybe someone your age, you'd say, Wie heißt du? You could also ask, Wer sind Sie? Which means, Who are you? Also formal, or its informal version, Wer bist du? We're going to talk a lot more about that formal versus informal split in just a moment. And how do you answer? It's pretty simple. You can say, Ich heiße Johann Müller, which means, I am called Johann Müller. Or, just like in English, you can say, Ich bin Peter Wagner, I am Peter Wagner. And a third great option is, My name is Ahmad. My name is Ahmad. All three are perfectly correct, so you can just pick your favorite. Just a quick vocabulary check to make sure everything's crystal clear. In German, your first name is der Name, or sometimes der Vorname. Your last name or your family name is der Familienname. So for Johann Müller, Johann is the Name and Müller is the Familienname. Simple as that.
All right, let's tackle what is probably the single most important concept for being polite in German, the difference between the formal Sie and the informal Du. Seriously, getting this right is a total game changer.
So here is the crucial rule. You use Sie for formal situations. Think strangers, older people, your boss, really anyone in a professional setting. It's a sign of respect. Du is for informal situations, friends, family, and people you know really well. And here's the golden rule, okay? When in doubt, always start with Sie. Look at that. The conversation is flowing. After you've exchanged names, a common next question is about where you're from. Let's see how to handle that. The basic formula here is super easy. You simply say, Ich komme aus, which means I come from, and then you just add your country. For instance, Ich komme aus Deutschland. But there is one tiny little grammar rule we need to pay attention to.
Okay, so for a handful of countries, you need to add an article. For example, Turkey is die Türkei. So you have to say, Ich komme aus der Türkei. Switzerland is die Schweiz. So it becomes aus der Schweiz. You might notice the article changes its form a little. That's because of German grammar cases, but for now, don't worry about that. It's best to just memorize the phrases for these specific countries, like aus dem Iran and aus den USA.
But don't worry, here's the good news. Most countries don't need an article at all. So for places like Morocco, Tunisia, Germany, or France, it's just a simple Ich komme aus plus the country name. See? Easy. To round out our polite little conversation, let's learn how to ask someone how they are doing. This just adds a really nice, friendly touch. The formal question is, Wie geht es Ihnen? The informal version is, Wie geht es dir? Which, honestly, you'll almost always hear shortened to just Wie geht's. Your answer can range from Mir geht es sehr gut, which is very well, to Mir geht es gut, well, or just a simple Es geht, okay.
Now listen up, because this is a critical point for beginners. It is so tempting to directly translate I am good to ich bin gut. But in German, that actually means I am a good person, like morally. To say you are doing well, you absolutely must say mir geht es gut. It's a really common mistake, so just burn this into your brain. Mir geht es gut is the right way to go.
Okay, we have learned so many useful phrases. Now let's just take a quick peek under the hood at the two verbs that have been powering our entire conversation. Sein, which means to be, and heißen, to be called. So let's look at the verb heißen. You'll see the ending changes depending on who you're talking about. Ich heiße, du heißt, and sie heißen. This is the grammar behind the questions we just learned. See that st ending for du? That's why we ask wie heißt du. And the n ending for sie? That's why we ask wie heißen sie. See? It all connects.
And here it is, the most important verb in German, sein, or to be. The forms change quite a bit. Ich bin, du bist, Sie sind. This is the key to phrases like Ich bin Peter and the question Wer sind Sie? Mastering these two verbs gives you such a powerful foundation for building all sorts of new sentences.
So, let's put it all together. This right here is a perfect, complete self-introduction. Ich heiße Fatima. Ich komme aus Tunesien. Mir geht es gut. Hello, my name is Fatima. I come from Tunisia. I am doing well. See? You can absolutely do this.
And now you know what's coming. It's your turn to practice. Use the phrases we've learned today and introduce yourself down in the comments below. Answer the question, Wer bist du? Where do you come from? And how are you doing? I can't wait to read them. Go for it.
Es freut mich. It was a real pleasure meeting all of you. I really hope you enjoyed your first German conversation. If you found this helpful, please give it a like and subscribe so you don't miss our next lesson. Bis bald. See you soon.